Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to have Amy Looper with me here today. Amy draws from her own journey as an award-winning software sales executive and a working mother, and combines neuroscience-backed tools with real-world insight to help clients lead with confidence and clarity under pressure. Welcome to the show, Amy.
Thanks, Tim, for having me on.
How did you become a high-performance resilience coach?
Well, I had to walk through burnout myself. We had young kids. We had gone through a lot of life. We had some family tragedies thrown in there in between both births of my kids. And it was just time to really leave corporate America. I was in cybersecurity sales, doing very, very well. I just decided to just step out on my own to see where life would take me. It was a big leap of faith. And I was kind of lead by that. And so I just went on this journey of consulting, and then eventually ended up to be personal development. And in that time became certified in resilience and trauma. And through my own walk of healing from some really major things, really realized what works. And after, going to doctors and, doing different things for myself, different modalities to try to heal some things I was dealing with, some chronic issues, finally found what really worked. And then I started coaching high achieving women that were going through the same thing. They're givers, and they go through a lot of burnout, and they're leaders. But we don't want to repeat the cycle every year and a half, so we had to get to the root cause, and that's what I do today.
Okay, excellent. That's incredibly powerful and changes lives, I'm sure.
It does, and families and marriages and you name it.
So this is obviously very important. I'm just curious, though, on the side, what's the credentialing body for resilience?
So it's really trauma-based, right? Trauma-based kind of coaching. And it's through the Arizona Resilience Institute here in town.
Okay. So and who founded that, and what's the history of that?
I don't know how long they've been around forever. And oh my gosh, Dr. Roten, I think, is the founder of that. And they've been around for a very long time. And I'm sorry, I said Arizona Resilience earlier. I meant Arizona Trauma Institute.
Okay. Yes, that rings a bell. I'm spacing her name, who's part of that here. I had somebody on the show. So I'll add it if I can come back to it. Before we get into resilience and the different aspects of it, I'm sure you can give us some pretty good actionable steps and understanding of the importance of it. Something that I read, what is it? Nassim Taleb's book on anti-fragility, right? And can you maybe give some clarity and clear up some misconceptions about what resilience is and isn't first, before we get into the details?
Sure. I always tell people that resilience is not grit. Because we oftentimes, I think, especially in our American culture, right, we like to say, oh, we're strong and we can just bust through anything. Our kids are resilient if you're going through a big life transition. Well, yeah, we are resilient people, but we have to strengthen the muscles, right? We're just not born to just go through a massive amount of big life changes all at once. Our bodies aren't. We have actual biological stress responses. And, when we see people go to the ER, 90% of the ER visits are stress-related issues that can later manifest into illnesses and chronic diseases and things like that. So if we really start at the root cause, what's causing the stress and anxiety and things like that, right? But I think resilience is oftentimes thought of as just busting through it or gritting through it, right? But really, resilience is strengthening those muscles for adaptability, to be able to tolerate levels of change and transformation, and being able to, withstand a certain amount of stress and uncertainty without completely burning out, right? And knowing how to regulate your physical state and your emotional state so that you stay regulated.
Right. Okay. I do take issue with the word grit, though. I know what you mean, though, right? Like just grinding against something for the sake of being tough and not giving up, right? That's I think the context you're saying, right?
Yep, totally.
Yeah, but I conflated it a little bit with like Angela Duckworth's work, if you're familiar with that, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Right, and like and so those studies, it's similar but different. I think I get what you're saying. Uh, Personal coaching, I didn't. So when you pivoted from your other sales career into this, right? That's scary, right? And you had a lot of challenges to deal with. Is that when you got into the personal development space more profoundly or whatever? Because that was my case, right? I spent years being technical and learning on technical skills and working on that stuff, but not myself. And I imagine that it's similar for you.
Well, I was in sales, so I had always
Oh,
worked.
okay. You're a little more emotionally intelligent and self-aware than I was.
I worked with a lot of those tech guys, but being the personality that I am, I've always invested in my personal development. Always a growth mindset. That has been since day one, literally. So, but I would say the big transformational leadership work I did becoming an entrepreneur, right? Because when you go from corporate America, you got a nice salary. For me, it was high salary, plus, really great bonus plans and commissions, yada, yada. Things are much easier in that world in some regards, in that, you've built this career. It's kind of in this systemized, corporate environment, right? You go to entrepreneurism, it's the Wild West.
Right.
You are a solopreneur. That's what I was. I literally stepped out 2 weeks before COVID, and was like,
Oof.
okay. And luckily I did, because we did have COVID and we had kids. And so it's like I had to be there for them as well and be really flexible and all that. So it was a great experience. Absolutely. Entrepreneur. And I've been on other podcasts to say it has literally saved my life because of the tools that I have gained in being able to create my own products, to be able to heal some of the big traumas that I went through and have gone through for a very long time.
You had life-threatening health issues?
Yeah, yes.
Oh boy.
And over time, I mean, these things are from burnout, but under burnout can be sources of toxic relationships that really put a person in a very difficult area for many, 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 many years. And I'm proud to say today we're getting through it. So all of the things that I've had to learn, emotional intelligence, regulation, being able to deal with very difficult personalities and dealing with very, very tough stuff personally, grieving, losses and family, all of that kind of hit my life in one period of time for about 10 years and just kept coming, right? But in the adversity, in those kind of challenging times, we learn so many gifts.
Yeah.
And that allows us to really create freedom, peace, joy in our lives, no matter what we're facing. And so that's what creates our capacity to be able to change and to take on new things. So much more than if you were just saying, okay, my vision is to just climb a ladder that's kind of predefined. Out here, when you're building a business, there's not one day that looks the same, right?
Right.
So you're constantly having to really move quickly, wear 20 hats in any given day, then throw parenting on there. And right now I've actually thrown single parenting on there, and I've continued to do it myself. So it's working. And it's amazing. So the things that I teach, especially women overcoming really tough situations, they are able to thrive and teach their kids, and this is the legacy, teach their kids emotional regulation and how to thrive.
Right. Okay. Do you want to talk about the pillars of resilience?
Sure. It starts with courage. So anytime you're stuck in fear and anxiety, you have to shift out of that, right? Unless you're just going to let fear and anxiety take over, right? And pause your body, pause your thought system. So it starts with courage. You really need to lean into vision. And some people don't really, and we go through periods of time, right, where we don't necessarily know what our vision is, or maybe like we've completed something, maybe you sold your business and now you're like, okay, what's the next level? Like, where do I want to go next? Right. So you have to establish that so that you stay really committed and continue to develop courage, commitment, the connection, really develop those deeper relationships with people and yourself and have compassion along the way. And all of that builds towards confidence. So people always come to me for coaching saying, I want to be more confident. Well, these are the steps that it takes because it starts with courageous action.
Yep. And something that I've come to understand better is it's not something you find, really. That's bravery, right? But confidence is something you create, right? By doing.
You have to step into uncomfortable action and you have to embrace the possibility that you might put your face in the fan a million times and fail. And you have to not let your ego drive the decision or logic, but you have to just go and do it and try it, right?
I haven't heard that one. That's a graphic. Put your face in the fan.
I was some of my kids are really strong-willed, and I'm like, well, they're just gonna have to put their face in the fan a couple of times. They'll learn.
Right. I explained, I do the same with touching the stove. You can tell somebody that it's hot, but they need to actually touch it sometimes.
Right.
Right. But also your point on failure, that's something that I'm hearing a lot more of again, thankfully, people understanding that failure is the stepping stones to success and all that. But I don't remember, it might have been, I think it was an Arnold Schwarzenegger quote, but it was something similar. It was something about how winning teaches you nothing. And struggle really is the crucible where character is forged, right? And without it,
100%.
right.
And it is, I am so blessed. We've gone through a really big life transition, my family and I, over the last 6 months. And it has been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. There's been a lot of Kleenex boxes. But in that, I always tell people, you got to water the flowers, right? When we grow, we're processing deep things, we're moving beyond them. And for those of us who are willing to have a growth mindset and really transform and leverage these points in time, which could literally take us out or try to take your health out, if you do lean into this kind of work of resilience, it really allows you to transform out of those times that could be quite limiting, but instead you come out creating just amazing things.
Sure, for sure. You don't come out the same way you went in, and
sure don't. I would say stronger if you have the right support.
Right. Yeah. So I've seen people get broken.
Yeah.
But if you have a vision and support, and that's a big part of it, I think, is the vision, right? Knowing.
Yeah, and I would say for me, I'm a big faith girl. Faith 100%. I have great testimony. We won't share it today, obviously, because that's not the point of this interview, but awesome testimony of just, when we grow with our vision, but then go beyond it and really make sure that we're in obedience and alignment with everything. Like, man, it just all is on purpose. And there's just no question. And there's such peace in what others could see as very chaotic or very scary, right? Going out to be a single mom as an entrepreneur, it's nail biting.
Yep.
But I will say there's been such great peace along the way. So you're aligned.
Right. Okay. So I like to ask some people, what have you done in the last 12 months that has changed your life? It sounds like you've already mentioned you've had some big life changes, and you come out stronger, right? It's hard, but that's how you grow. What do you want your legacy to be?
What I do now, I just got back from California this last week and coaching a cohort of women in construction. There's about 50 plus women in this group. We do, facilitate leadership development kind of things using the resilient growth method. So it's resilience building, emotional intelligence work, all that good stuff. And that's the legacy. When we can teach ourselves to become emotionally regulated. And what I mean by that, for those of you who aren't, leadership development nerds like I am, or in this kind of work, it just means like you're able to just walk through challenging situations and conversations with just such ease. and not a lot bothers you. You can really make clear decisions. You don't get taken out, from fear and anxiety. You can be a leader and make quick decisions and ones with clarity and that kind of thing, right? Hold conversations and present yourself in a very confident way. So it's just amazing to do that because when we help people do that as leaders, they're able to model it at home and realize their leadership congruency is everything to their family. This is what your kids are watching. Your kids are seeing how you're showing up, right?
Sure.
And if we are in complete extreme ownership of that, how we show up, then and then we just our way of being is different with people, right? We start to really be outward focused, and we start to really show up in a way that is a servant leader and those kind of things. Even if we're going through hard times, we don't let those things take us down. So that's the legacy, because the ripple is the next generation. They're learning
Yep.
what they're being modeled.
Okay, good answer. So, any tips or advice for people? I mean, this is a bigger program and complicated, and you have to sort of dive in and do the work. But some of the best strategies or tactics for not being reactive and being more intentional when life comes at you.
Emotions only sit in the body for 90 seconds. You literally have a chemical reaction for about 90 seconds, right? So, knowing that, I don't know how many times have we held on to emotion. You get in a fight with your spouse, for an example, and it's like it lasts overnight. Somebody's sleeping on the couch, somebody's not happy, right? So it's like knowing that there is a point of choice where we get to either sit in that emotion for a while, or we can let it go through. We're all human. We all feel everything all the time. But we don't have to let it control us. And that's really the piece of freedom, that when people realize that and they say, oh, wow, I want to learn the tools to allow things to let go, like let go, right? All of our high control leaders out there, like we get to let go of some of these things a little bit. It really helps create more space where people can come back in, take a breath. I teach somatic work too. Like we take some breaths and focus on the breathing so that we can let our nervous system know, hey, you're safe, you're fine.
Right.
Excuse yourself from the boardroom for 90 seconds, come back. So then you can really have a clear message that you're not going to regret later.
Okay. Okay. So it starts with, well, first knowing and that you need being aware, right? Knowing you need to take a moment, and then knowing how to take a moment.
Yep. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
That's anytime you do transformational work, it's 90% is awareness. The last 10%, which is crucial, is that taking the action, right? Either taking the pause, slowing down to speed up, like all of those things. It really matters. We're all humans. We all have very similar behaviors. We just have to work through that stuff.
Okay. Are your clients national? Are they focused a lot in Arizona? Where do you work?
Well, they're international,
Oh,
actually.
you're global. Nice.
Yeah, and so I work with folks that they'll see content of mine and they'll come in just organically for personal, development coaching. These people are very ambitious. They want a high performance coach, and a lot of times people are going through maybe traumas. So I get a lot of times pulled into situations, or maybe people have just really been through burnout, right? And I don't mean I got to take a vacation burnout. I mean like I can't get out of bed in the morning kind of burnout, right? It's very serious. And so, sometimes people, I had an HR director call me in and had me work with one of her employees that had just come back from a diabetic coma, and she was experiencing a little bit of conflict and irritability from this person. And she knew enough about her team. This is so key as a leader. She knew enough about her and cared enough about her employee to know that this wasn't just bad behavior, but that she had been through a huge health crisis and needed some more support to integrate back in.
Okay. Okay. I imagine it's incredibly rewarding and fulfilling when you are able to make such a big impact in some people's lives. Um, Reflecting back, what do you wish you would have known sooner about building success earlier in your career?
What do I wish I would have known sooner? Um, Hmm. Hmm. That not everyone was going to come along on the same ride.
Okay, you got to expand on that.
Yeah, not everyone's going to come on the same ride. So knowing that you'd have, you know how you can look back and you look back like the last 20 years, and it's like, oh, that chapter was with these kind of, colleagues or this industry or whatever, right? I was serving these people. And then you kind of go to the next and you just keep evolving. Like we just evolve as human beings, right? And so not every boss that you ever have will ever come to the next level that you're
Right,
going to, right? Sometimes you just kind of outgrow different environments or
right,
you just shift focus. And so just being, again, it's the letting go thing, being able to let go and just be like, oh, this is great. Like I live my life in such peace now, but I'm 42 and it took a heck of a lot of life experience and massive life changes to get to this point of just being able to go with the flow. Before it was always like, let me try to control it. Let me be the sales lady that controls all the things. And
right,
that's really limiting and it's exhausting to live that way.
right. It's a growing trend in our hectic and frenetic world we live in.
Yeah, I like this side much better.
Right, right. Yeah. It's kind of a stoic philosophy, I guess. My one of my son's football coaches back in the day used to say, "Control your controllables,"
Yeah,
and that's a phrase that they've heard many years since I learned it.
yeah,
Is don't stress the stuff you can't and just focus on what you can.
exactly.
Right. Or even I remember, I don't know if you're familiar with Bill Belichick, but
Mhm.
as coach of the New England Patriots, I would hear him on the sideline sometimes saying, "Know your job."
Yeah, stay in your lane and let go of the rest. And I think a lot. So I coach a lot of women, right? I mean, I work with corporate teams, but I also coach a lot of women. And a trend that I see, and I find this in myself too. Like we're naturally caregivers. We want everybody to feel lovely and comfortable, and we want every day to feel like Thanksgiving dinner. You know what I mean? Like we want everybody to be happy. And so sometimes that people pleaserness that can pop up in humans, but certainly those of us who are women in leadership, we start to not realize it's even there. And by the
Right.
time we get to burnout, then we're like, oh, sheesh, I totally twisted myself in a knot. When what if we just let go along the way a little bit more? We give ourselves some more room to just lead more clearly, lead more effectively, and enjoy the ride.
Right. Right. I think some of that stems from I'm not an expert in this in psychology, but I believe that's largely part of the women have a tendency to be more agreeable in the big five personality traits, right? And so they want to kind of like you don't want to get kicked out of the tribe, right? That's death.
Right.
So you want to get along and help people
Survival
and
thing.
right.
It's the early childhood conditioning thing too. And I mean, we go deep in all that stuff when you coach with me, but,
Okay.
but,
Okay.
but those things can come up. And so I think, again, letting go is it really is, a freeing thing to do as a leader.
Sure. For sure. For sure. What's that book that's popular right now?
Yeah. The Mel Robbins book.
Mel Robbins. Yeah, sure,
The
sure. Her
green one.
like
It's
her
in
new
my living
book.
room.
Okay, okay. Let them theory.
Yeah. Let them, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Which is uh generally stoic, right? Sort of rediscovery for the modern people.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Mel Robbins has an amazing marketing genius. It's phenomenal.
Right. Okay. Well, Amy, is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't?
Well, we could talk on this stuff all day long, but
Right.
I mean, so your podcast is called the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, and
Hmm.
I think Warren Buffett once said, the best investment you can make in yourself is investing in yourself, and I truly believe that. Yes, make good financial sound decisions and invest and diversify and all the things, right?
Hmm.
But also don't forget about you, right? Like
Yes.
life doesn't happen to us; life happens from us. And when we take that extreme ownership view of life happens from us, and we think about that, like, wow, we're the asset we need to pour into the most.
Yes. Yep, that's some gold there to end the podcast with, for sure. Something I wish I would have. I spent my 20s and 30s and stuff, right? Like not working on myself. I like I mentioned earlier, I was growing in knowledge but not wisdom. Is that the right term?
I get. Oh, my 20s.
Right?
Yeah, I get it.
Right? That's the saying I like. Knowledge is knowing that the tomato is a fruit, but wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's sort of knowing who you are and where your position is in the world, and that sort of stuff is, and to keep growing, right? And
Right.
personally is paramount. So excellent. If Amy, if people would like to connect with you and learn more, what can they do? Where should they go?
Yeah, my main social is LinkedIn, Amy Lee Looper, or my website, and that's Amy Leigh Looper LOOPER.com.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Thank you very much, Amy Looper, for joining me today. We very much appreciate you sharing your story and your insights into success and resilience. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tim.
Inspired by our guests? Visit phoenixprosperitypodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.